Hey, what's going on, everyone? It's Kyle Henderson, Tony Sukalis, Tyler Waldrop. Thanks for watching. As we continue our 20 for 20 series, today we're talking top defensive breakout players for the 2020 season. And, there's quite a few players that could potentially emerge considering the amount of players that Alabama lost during the 2019 season. Here with Tony and Tyler. You guys doing all right? Checking in. The 2020 for series, I mean, this is something that, we've spearheaded to create the content. And it's going good. Tony, you doing all right today?
Yeah, I'm doing pretty good.
All right, Tyler, you checking in? You all right? You ready?
Yeah, I'm
All
still
right,
making it. I'm ready to go.
we'll start with you, Tyler, this time.
Okay.
Who is your breakout player on the defensive side of the ball for 2020?
So I just think the obvious choice to break out for Alabama on the defensive side is Christian Barmore. If you look, he only played 269 snaps next year. So the big test is, can he make that jump? Can he go from just a pass rushing role to someone who can start and play a larger complement of snaps? And if you look at his Pro Football Focus grade, they suggest that he can. He graded out as the top player against LSU, playing 15 snaps. But then after that game, he jumped up to, I think, 40 snaps on average down the stretch. His grades never dropped off. That suggests that he can make the jump to a larger role. And he was dominant as a pass rusher for Alabama in a limited role, and I expect that to be the case next season.
Tony, when we look at Christian Barmore, is there any way to play devil's advocate to go against what Tyler said? I mean, is there another defensive lineman that could potentially surpass Barmore as the breakout player for 2020?
I agree with Tyler in terms of like him being the breakout player on the defensive line. I think that's the player that I think fans are the most excited about. Byron Young kind of got more starts last season. It might be a case of they're involved in different packages. I think Alabama would want Christian Barmore, just given his pass rushing talent, to be a more well-rounded defensive lineman. And I think that's, kind of the goal here. If you look at who's the most talented of the young defensive linemen, especially from a pass rushing perspective, you definitely choose Barmore. So I get that. I think you could go with Byron Young or Justin Boygby. They maybe got more starts than Barmore, but I think he's right with saying that Barmore would be the guy on the defensive line. The person I would pick, though, for my defensive breakout player would be Christopher Allen. And I think it's just because Alabama needs Christopher Allen to break out. So this is more just of like what Alabama needs, because you lose your top two pass rushers in Terrell Lewis and Anthony Jennings. They're going to need an experienced guy. And I get that Alabama has a whole bunch of young pass rushers coming in, but you don't know what those people are going to be like. We didn't have a spring camp for them to get, acclimated. So it's going to be a fast learning curve for a lot of players. And so a guy like Christopher Allen, who came in for Terrell Lewis, during the Citrus Bowl, I think he's going to be, a game changer for Alabama.
I mean, Tony, I was expecting you to say Ben Davis.
Oh, man. Well, other than Ben Davis, right? Ben Davis has been the potential breakout player for the last 4 seasons, so I figured we'd give it a rest this year.
No, and Tyler, I want to go back to you on you picking Christian Barmore. Now, look, I'm a huge Christian Barmore fan. You guys have watched before. I love hyping up Barmore. I think he has a great motor, but I want to play devil's advocate. Okay. I want to create a little bit of controversy. So this is my hot take regarding the Alabama defensive line. I think that Christian Barmore should be playing defensive tackle, and DJ Dale needs to get in a little bit better shape so he can continue to contribute at a higher level. I think DJ Dale entering his freshman season was everything we wanted it to be. But then by the end of the season, he was playing with an arm cast, a leg cast. I mean, he had padded gloves on. I mean, if Alabama wants a dynamic defensive tackle that can get after the quarterback, and they want the best 3 defensive linemen chasing down the quarterback, I think Christian Barmore needs to be moved to that defensive tackle spot. I like a player like Fedarian Mathis. This is a player that we don't talk a lot about. And I think a player that I would like is LeBron Ray. Is he going to step up and really prove that he can be a dynamic force on the defensive line? This is a guy that we've seen, I wouldn't say be lackadaisical by any sense, but I want to see some motivation from that defensive line. I thought we were going to see it from Raekwon Davis, and we never saw it ever from Raekwon Davis. So one of these defensive linemen needs to step up. DJ Dale, I'd like to see him have a little bit more of a motor this season. Christian Barmore is certainly the guy that I'd like to see out on the field. When we talk about offensive or outside linebackers, I think Tony brings up a great point with Christopher Allen. I mean, this is a guy who we felt was going to make a splash with Anthony Jennings and Terrell Lewis now leaving. There's a bunch of young guys that could jump up. Tony, when you look at the younger guys, other than Chris Allen, he's not really a young guy, but one of these outside linebackers, who do you think from that freshman standpoint could potentially step up and maybe even be a starter under Sal Sincere at that outside linebacker position?
Before I get started, in defense of DJ Dale, that man is dealing with double teams, had some unfortunate injuries. A big DJ Dale guy. You lay off my man DJ Dale because I think he's a great defensive lineman. I think he's just going to always get underrated because being the nose tackle position. But when we're looking at the outside linebackers, you got to take Will Anderson, right? I mean, that guy was on fire during his high school year. I don't have the numbers right in front of me, but he's stacking up sacks. He's on a great defense. And then just, looking at him on film, he definitely looks like the 5-star talent. He's definitely the hottest name coming in. I had him as one of the 5 guys that was affected by spring practice because I think a nice spring would have really helped him kind of cement one of those starting roles. But even without it, I think when you look at guys that could really step up and be a breakout star in defense, I think Will Anderson, for me, that'd be my pick.
All right. Now, I have to ask you, and I want you guys to be 100% honest with me, right? Give me your feedback. Josh Jobe, is he going to be a rising star for the Alabama defense at the corner position? Or is it going to be someone else that steps up and takes over that corner role? Is it going to be the junior college transfer? I believe his name is Ronald Williams. Is it going to be Jalen Armour-Davis? Tyler, I know you're new to the scene, but you've seen enough football. Is Josh Jobe going to be a breakout player, or is he going to be surpassed by someone else on the defense?
Well, everything that's happening right now probably helps them a little bit, right? If you've got other guys that have less experience with the defense, less experience with the rest of the team, maybe it does help Josh Jobe at least early on, at least early in fall camp or whenever the next camp is that happens. Maybe Josh Jobe kind of has the role to begin with and somebody has to beat him for it instead of it being more of an even competition. That's my take.
Tony, go ahead.
Look at people that Alabama needs to step up. Josh Jobe's another one because I think ideally I'd like to put Patrick Surtain in at star, and you need Josh Jobe to cement one of those cornerback positions. Maybe put Ronald Williams at the other one. Another player in the secondary I think really could be a breakout star is Jordan Battle at safety. Look, they're losing both their starting safeties as well. So. I think both of those guys, Jordan Battle and Josh Jobe, if they don't break out per se, then Alabama has to fill pieces around them. So yeah, really 2 guys right there that are must breakouts.
A lot of question marks in the secondary. I mean, a guy that we could even talk about at the other safety position is it going to be Daniel Wright or DeMarco Helms? I mean, what's your guys' take on D. Wright? A lot of people like him. Some people feel that it could be potentially DeMarco Helms, that him and Jordan Battle are the safeties. What's your guys' take on that?
Yeah, I think that's one of the biggest position battles if you're looking at the way the secondary breaks out the way that I think it will. I think Jordan Battle's definitely a starter at one of those safety positions, but that other one's up in the air. I think the loser of that battle will probably take the money role in the dime formation, but how often does Alabama run out of the, most of the time they're running out of the nickel. So to be the other safety besides Battle in the nickel is kind of the more prestigious spot. You're going to get the more playing time. I wouldn't be surprised if it's Helms. He's a guy that with a lot of talent. I think when you look at it, maybe if you're looking at the how are things affected by not having a spring or having limited practice time, I think maybe obviously it advantages Daniel Wright, who's been in the program longer. Then again, Helms has been in the program for a season now, so it's not like he's totally new to everything. So I don't know. I think I'd shade towards Wright winning the job, but you could easily convince me that Helms was going to win it as well.
Yeah, good stuff, guys. I think there's, we could go a lot of directions considering the defense. There's a lot of spots to fulfill, especially in the secondary area. But I like the pick so far. Tony goes with Chris Allen. Tyler goes with Barmore. I didn't really go with a guy.
Everybody.
I did pick everybody, but I think the one guy that I would like to pick would be LeBron Ray. I need to see these guys actually perform. You know, I'm tired of just going off the names of these guys because we've done it in the past. I mean, I felt that way with Raekwon Davis just because of his size, and I went off that, and I was waiting for him to do something dynamic, and maybe he will in the NFL, but I didn't see anything at the college level. And then Terrell Lewis too. I mean, I think that he was great. I felt he was always going to be great, and he's probably still going to be great in the NFL, but we never really saw the greatness from him at the college level. Maybe a couple times, but not overly. So LeBron Ray, I guess that's the next guy that I'm hopping on and just kind of waiting for something truly dynamic from, you know, the next, you know, should be good Alabama defensive lineman. We didn't talk about any inside linebackers that could potentially be breakout players. Obviously Dylan Moses returns. I mean, who else could be an inside linebacker that has a breakout season? Could it be?
It's kind of weird,
right?
It's kind of weird because there's already been that was last year. You know, I mean, Shane Lee and Christian Harris.
Those guys can't have like.
They're already broken out, I guess, right?
Yeah.
And you get Dylan back, so.
And he can't. What is he going to do? Have like a breakout? Everybody knows he's good. Joshua McMillan, he's like on his 7th year, right? So I mean, he can't really do his thing. I guess. How about this one? How about this one? Ollie Collin.
Yeah. Special teams hero. You know, I mean, a guy that I just don't know if he's going to beat out. Look at the people in front of him. I mean, they had 2 guys that started the whole season in front of him, plus a Butkus finalist who's going to take another starting spot. And you got McMillan, who's, you know, ultra experienced. So maybe Cajo's year's a year away, or I think he's going to continuously be a special teams player. I think if Alabama was an NFL team, Cajo would be the guy that would be safe, even though he doesn't start, because he'd be that like special teams kind of hero guy. What about DeMoy Kennedy?
Yeah, he could be another guy.
You know, you always kind of lose him in the mix because he's classified as an inside linebacker, but he could also switch to outside linebacker too. And then he's just a versatile guy. You know, a guy that could be a pass rushing specialist, but also has the versatility to play inside. And
I mean, there's a lot of guys who are new to the scene in that linebacker category. You have Drew Sanders, DeMoy Kennedy, like you mentioned. You have Chris Broswell, who we didn't talk about. A lot of people when we talk about this incoming class, Drew Sanders. I need to watch more film because people are really excited what he can. I think what is he like 6'5", 240?
He was a tight end in high school too, so he's a guy that I honestly feel like he could have probably. I mean, it makes the position of value more is the outside linebacker position, you know, just the way Alabama uses it. But you could maybe see him switch to tight end since he did so well in high school at that position.
I got one more thing before we go, and this is a player that we continue to forget. We're forgetting to talk about. He actually is playing tight end right now, but he started out at Alabama as an outside linebacker, and that's Cameron Latou. Now, let's just hypothetically say that Alabama can't figure out who's going to be the outside linebacker along with Chris Allen. Cameron Latou didn't look terrible when he first came in. I mean, Tony, you've seen Cameron Latou as well. Is he cemented at tight end, or is that experiment potentially over? And do you think we could maybe see Latou on the defensive side of the ball again in 2020?
I don't know, because now you got more depth at outside linebacker, just in terms of talent. He's not necessarily a proven talent at outside linebacker. So like moving him back there are you just adding another inexperienced guy? And then you look at the tight end room at Alabama is still not the best. It's just kind of average in my opinion. So maybe he actually does have more of a chance at tight end. He kind of seems lost at the moment. And, for his sake, I wish, he would kind of show a breakout at either position, but I'd still kind of go tight end, and maybe more for the future, because you got to think. Look, I think Miller Forrestall actually has 2 years left, but
Miller Forrestall has 2 years left. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, because he got that medical red shirt, right?
Oh man.
I don't know. Maybe he doesn't. But what I'm saying is like, I still think Cameron Latou's path is probably a little bit easier at tight end at the moment, I guess.
Yeah,
one thing we didn't mention, during yesterday's segment, Kyle, he cheated and he put Will Reichert as his offensive breakout player. So in that vein, I would like to put Ty Pirine as my defensive breakout player. Big Ty Pirine fan. I think he's going to transform the punting game, or he already did last year. I don't know. Maybe he had his breakout season last year, but in the spirit of this 20 for 20 series, since if Kyle can use Will Reichert as a potential offensive breakout player, I would like to.
No, so this is my thing with Ty P. Ryan is he did great. And I was on board. I mean, you called it before anyone else. I mean, you jumped on that train and he did his thing. But what happened? Where was he during the Citrus Bowl?
We're not going to talk about that.
No, he just vanished for the Citrus Bowl. And then, I don't know, like, what's his status for this season?
I don't know. I just remember that hit that he made at on the Tennessee game. So that's my P. Ryan pick. I honestly think he might be the punter next year. I don't think it's smart to make Riker do everything. So
no, you're forgetting Skylar DeLong. Skylar DeLong's still on.
Skylar DeLong. No.
No Skylar DeLong. All right. Maybe we're closing right there. Okay. Thank you very much for watching this video segment. Stay tuned as we continue to move through our 20 for 20 series. Tony Sakalas and Tyler Waldrop. My name is Kyle Henderson. Stay tuned for another video. Please like and subscribe. We'll catch you guys next time right here on BamaInsider.com.